good? Can you hear me? Good. We're good? Hola. Here, let me see. That one? I'll put it right here. I'll put it. Okay. All right, are we ready? Okay. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Alejandra Sotelo-Solis, Mayor here for the City of National City, and I'm joined with National City Police Chief Jose Tellez and Councilmember Mona Rios, who is the other committee member for the Lowrider Ad Hoc Committee for the City of National City. A little bit on the history of the Ad Hoc Committee. It was established in April 2021 at City Council and had a one-year lifespan. Last night, we again unanimously reinstated that committee. And the goal of our Ad Hoc Committee continues to be threefold. One, to continue to build trust with the community at large, the lowrider car clubs, businesses and city departments, including the National City Police Department, all around mutual community service events, including toy drives, food drives, and vaccination events. Two, to create an event or series of events to highlight the art and culture of lowriding, cruising. And three, the future discussion and recommendations on the potential citywide cruising ordinance with three options for the conversation. One, keeping the status quo regarding the cruising ordinance. Two, to amend, and three, to repeal the ordinance. So in fall of 2021, we held a joint town hall where we received hundreds of voices regarding cruising, both in support and in opposition of cruising. Earlier this year, the Ad Hoc Committee presented to the City Council and to the public and shared that the ad hoc decision was to support the cruising pilot program, which consisted of 6 cruises on the first month of each, on the first of the month, or first Friday of every month from May to October. In April of this year, a TUP, a temporary use permit, was submitted by the United Lowrider Coalition. This was after several follow-ups with the police chief, myself, Councilmember Rios, city staff, to discuss staging areas, expected crowd size, and traffic mitigation. The original TUP for this event stated an estimated audience of 50 people and with up to 200 cars participating. It was approved with that premise and understanding. As we all saw, and I was gobsmacked, at a loss for words, actually, when we turned that corner and saw so many members of our community out there that day. An amazing turnout. It was beautiful to easily see thousands of people on the sidewalk, intergeneration, from grandmas in their lawn chairs to the little ones in their strollers waving at us, watching the beautiful art and seeing hundreds of vehicles cruising. This past May 6th, we had an amazing, very well attended and community embraced launch of the cruising along Highland Avenue, the first of 6 in the trial period from May to October. Lots of positivity. However, it is met with, how can it be improved? So why are we here today? We wanted to clarify that the cruises will not be eliminated. And secondly, there aren't any resources or requirements that are being asked of the ULC, of the United Lowrider Coalition, that are not being asked of any other TUP permit holders. For example, last night we approved of our 4th of July carnival held by our local Lions Club. They are paying $29,000 in fees for a 5-day carnival here at Kimball Park. All of these elements include crowd management, safety, and a traffic plan. Many of you have received, but I want to provide you all with a document. These are the recommendations that were provided in a debrief meeting from the police department to the United Lowrider Coalition. This document will be what our our ad hoc committee discusses next week with the group. So I'll go ahead and, you want to pass it out? And so really there are several recommendations. Again, it is crowd management, safety, and traffic committee are and back. Now, whether those costs are paid to the city, private, because it was not formally on the agenda of our ad hoc committee, so Councilmember Rios and myself for next week. We can and I have done with grants that may help offset these costs. Internally, if there are fees, as we do with others, we can be creative. There are recommendations that should be addressed by the United Coalition at the ad hoc committee next week. The city will continue to work with all of our departments to make sure that the cruise nights are safe and successful. Thank you, and we'll now go to questions that you may have. Yes. So when a TUP is submitted, it is the organizers who provide those numbers to the city. So we have the application that is usually done about a month and a half, if not sometimes earlier, when you know what the date is. And they say, okay, we're expecting 50 people. There was, I mean,
yeah, I mean, it just sounds like that would have been like, you know, like turkey crowd, small turkey crowd or something like that.
yes.
On June 7th, your ad hoc committee, you guys plan to vote on a certain issue to amend or repeal, or what is going to happen on June 7th exactly?
So we plan to have an ad hoc committee meeting of Councilmember Rios and myself, along with members of our business community and the United Lowriders Coalition, to talk about the recommendations that are on this, in this packet. From there, we will make recommendations. After that conversation, make recommendations to the whole city council, which will have the entire TUP, or the temporary use permit, on the agenda to discuss what that looks like moving forward.
But there will be not more votes
On June 7th, potentially. It depends on where the conversation goes.
Now we know it's every Friday, the first Friday of every month. So we know that June 3rd is already coming up. What's going to happen for that Friday then? Are they going to still be able to like do those events?
All events are still on as planned. Now the recommendations, and we know that when there is a big crowd, you know, we will have police presence. There will be more need for traffic to get maybe sent off to the other streets if needed. Potentially making sure that people are abiding by the rules of the road. And so, you know, they will be there.
But the money that is being asked for doesn't need to be necessarily paid off for that first Friday of June.
Well, I think we're having the conversation next week to see what we're and where we can meet. Again, we're not so hard fast. It's, you know, all or nothing. I think it's really about continuing to work together. Let me let the chief go ahead and share a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jose Tellez, Chief of Police. So just to reiterate what the mayor said, so the June 3rd event will take place as scheduled. And really it is our intent as a police department to provide officers for the event and, you know, for the assurances of public safety, crowd control, traffic congestion, and everything that took place after the first event. Clearly, the TUP and what actually happened are two different things, right? So then we have to now adjust to what we actually saw during the first event. So we expressed that to the United Lowrider Coalition. We've had discussions with that. They know we're going to add officers to this, and really the intent, as the mayor said, is to work together to make this event successful, safe, enjoyable for everybody that's in attendance. So really, that's our goal, and we continue to work towards that effort.
Thank you.
Yes, the city, the Lions Club, they're all well versed in how to navigate through the bureaucracy of grants, permits, additional monies that might be hidden somewhere in the closet. Did you have someone to act as a liaison to the lowriders to help them figure out how to work this?
Well, we definitely are still working hand in glove with our Lions Club. I'm making calls for both organizations and saying, hey, there are things that are happening. Are these potential partnerships? They also too have, a whole coalition and advisors that are part of their group that also understand the process. So there are people that, again, are willing to help. I think the conversation needs to happen so everyone has a clear understanding. It's not one or the other. It's really making sure that it continues to be successful and that we have all the plans in place, not just for this event, but for ongoing events and things that have happened in the past that we've asked the same things of. So it's just really keeping that solid quality of event for all.
So I guess my initial question was, so if this is happening on Friday, June 3rd,
Yes.
and the meeting for you guys is on June 2nd, so who's going to pay for the June 3rd?
So at this point in time, necesarios a mantener toda la gente que está allí, el tráfico y también para ver cómo la seguridad de todos es lo más importante. Y vemos que para todos los que estaban allí, se divirtieron, nos divertimos bien mucho y por eso es tan importante que siga a ese nivel, porque vamos a ver que ese es el primero de 6 eventos. So vamos a seguir mejorando cada evento.
Entonces, van a tener la reunión con el comité antes de que ocurra el evento y la del 7 de junio ya es otra parte, pero se tienen que reunir antes para ver quién va a pasar con los servicios de cierre.
Claro. Ujú. Ya. The fees, if you look in the recommendation, it is at this point for the services required for the police, it is $7,813. And that is for 6 officers and 1 sergeant. Is that correct? Yes. Okay.
So other cities have had these cruising events before and have attracted hundreds of people. So when you guys were reviewing the TUP, did that not come up, or were you just looking and trusting the organizers' words that you know people showing up?
Well, I think the understanding was that it was going to be a local flavor, that it was going to be the United Lowrider organization, and really kind of keeping to the San Diego region. But it really was very successful. They had people from Texas and New Mexico. I mean, this was the talk of the town. So with success comes the need to reevaluate and repivot and reposition. It's about continuing that positivity and that, success. But it also too, we got to make sure that if people are on the sidewalk, that they're safe. They're not hopping into the street just to take pictures with the car that's bouncing. The rules of the road are being adhered to. So I think it's just reminding not only the participants, the TUP holder, but those that want to participate too. This has a finite timeline. It's from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Once 9 o'clock rolls around, the event ends. So that's one of the recommendations, that there be a clear and definitive start and end time. I usually say, I made the comparison like when parades start and stop, they stop during Christmas time when Santa Claus comes out. Santa Claus is the end and you have brooms, cleaning up. That's when it's time to go. Now we don't necessarily have a Santa Claus, as part of the cruising, but there needs to be a clear, distinctive way to do that. And it's partnership with those who are participating as well as those that are spectating. No es, para nosotros, no es diferencia, es cuando aceptamos el TUP y dimos el permiso, es que estamos pensando que iba a ser algo más chiquito el evento, pero como tuvimos tanta gente que quiso venir y salir a ver algo que no había sucedido por más de 30 años, la gente llegó. So, por eso tenemos que ver cómo seguir asegurando a la gente, a la comunidad, al público que llega, que van a tener una área seguro y sano, y con la ayuda del Departamento de Policía, también el Public Works. Hay varios departamentos que con ellos vamos a seguir adelante.
Pero ¿cuál es el mayor problema? ¿Seguridad o dinero para pagar a la policía?
Seguridad. Nunca es sobre el dinero, porque he dicho, si no nos están pagando a nosotros, van a pagar for security a otra organización, o que sea voluntarios. El tiempo de un voluntario es casi dinero. So, para nosotros no es, y cuando decimos que es para pagar a los servicios del Departamento de Policía, ellos son los que tienen esa fe y confianza de la comunidad aquí de National City. So, son servicios y son parte de nuestra comunidad, no son otros, son parte de nuestra comunidad y parte de la solución a seguir asegurando a la comunidad. I know there was a go ahead. Yes.
Public Works too.
Potentially, yes. And it's actually part of the recommendation as well.
Yeah, so they were telling us about all these additional ones, and they were thinking it might end up being closer to $15,000 to $18,000. Does that sound about right?
Can I
Go ahead.
answer? So yes, you're correct on the traffic plan, and obviously the reason I recommended that because the event was so large that it actually took out over 30 blocks in our city and impacted traffic on State Route 54, vehicles coming in from Chula Vista and vehicles coming in from San Diego. So typically during events, like you can see in parades or when the streets are closed, you are allowing commuters, giving the information early on, say, to let them know that there's an event taking place and to use alternative routes. That's part of this, right? If the event is so large, we have to do this. And this is not anything unique because we've done it for the Mariachi Festival. We do it for other events when traffic is so impacted so heavily that we need to let and inform commuters that we're doing this. At the same time, during this event, we had to reroute 9 MTS buses off of Highland because they couldn't make their normal pickup and drop-offs on Highland Avenue. So it impacts everybody, right? It impacts businesses as well. So it's not a parade, because if it was a parade, we'd actually block off arterial streets and really control one street. We're trying to do this in the normal course of business on a Friday evening with everybody, residents, commuters, shoppers, everybody being affected. So there has to be a little bit more thought put into this, especially to allow drivers the ability to reroute and not affect more traffic on Highland Avenue during the event. It's a recommendation, and our city engineer, they'll take a look at that, and they're going to work with the coalition, provide some direction to them. And if a plan is required or additional signage is required, it's going to be their responsibility to take care of that. Sí. Sí, entonces la recomendación es para que nuestro ingeniero de la ciudad trabaje con la Lowrider Coalition para darles información que un evento tan grande afecta el tráfico, entonces tenemos que ayudar a los choferes y darles esa información antes que entren en la área. Entonces, esa es la intención de esta recomendación. ellos van a trabajar con el Coalition, con la ciudad y dar las recomendaciones durante el concilio el 7 de junio. Ajá. Pues es que hubo tanto tráfico que casi no se estaba moviendo. Entonces, cuando ocurre eso, tenemos que notificar al MTS para que cambien su ruta. Entonces, eso tuvo que pasar. Entonces, normalmente si fuera como un evento grande, ellos tienen esa información ya semanas antes y hacen sus cambios. También sus pasajeros informan a sus pasajeros que van a haber cambios. En este caso, nomás esto ocurrió esa noche. Entonces, afectó todo. Entonces, por eso tenemos que seguir trabajando juntos para solucionar todos estos problemas. Sí, este presupuesto nomás son para policías, servicios de policías. Ya si el ingeniero de la ciudad decide que van a tener que ver más costos, entonces ellos van a ser responsables por eso también. Puede cambiar si necesitan hacer un plan de tráfico y tienen que ver
The start and stop time. The second one was following the rules of the road. The third was, when the various parking lots, getting permission of business owners and how that interaction takes place. Making sure that the police and people of uniform personnel are the ones making contact if anyone does see a crime taking place. And again, the TUP estimation, again, the cruising is still on. The Ad Hoc Committee will be meeting to have the additional conversations on how we meet in the middle and continue cruising in National City. We have 2 meeting requests that have gone out, so it'll be Monday or Wednesday. We'll keep you posted because it will be on Zoom. We can share the link with you all. We have, again, National City Boulevard because of the mile of cars. But again, it is a very busy thoroughway. I know there's been conversation about Plaza Boulevard, 8th Street. It's really, Highland Avenue has been the historical spot for cruising. Claro.
Sí, es ilegal. Entonces, las modificaciones que hacen a los carros, la mayoría de los lowriders son ilegales. Esa es la verdad. Lo que hacemos nosotros es que, nuestra meta es no enforzar nada porque todos están siguiendo las reglas de nuestra ciudad, ¿verdad? Entonces, pero sí, si hacen cambios, si mueven el carro, si manejan en 3 llantas, todo eso es ilegal. Sí, sí. Hubo muchos que los hicieron, ¿verdad? Y por eso estamos trabajando con el United Lowrider Coalition para que informen a todos los choferes, ¿verdad? Porque también esa es la responsabilidad de ellos para seguir las reglas de la ciudad, ¿verdad?
And I'll just finish it with this. We have talked about, again, the fees and or potential of what that is. But we also talked about, having a code of conduct through all of our events. So we will revisit that. Again, our goal is to continue this in a very positive manner. But we want to make sure that the position that all of you know is that the city wants to make sure that everybody is safe. When you have a successful event with thousands of people on the road, we know it's just going to continue to grow. And as we start going more into the summer months and people continue to come from outside of our neighborhoods, We want them to know this is how you behave in National City. This is our code of conduct. And if you want to contribute, by all means, buy a piece of food on Highland Avenue and support a business. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining us at the press conference. Thank you.